Sites are where you conduct your surveillance operations in your agency. So they're geolocated on a map, and they're usually your first step in establishing your surveillance data as the place where you're going to actually go and conduct that surveillance. So when we go to sites, it's on the far left because it's going to be our first. There are options to create a new site, to manage site, or to create a site group. And so first we are going to go through how to create a new site. So I'll click that, and here we are. So I told you that Saculo has been very generous to allow me to use their system to play around with for this training. And so here is where we start. We're going to start at the top. We're going to need a unique 6-digit site code for where that site's going to go. There's some helpful drop downs over here on the right. It's going to tell you which ranges you've already used for sites and which ranges are available. So we see that this site 279 is available. So let's create a site for that. I do want to mention, if I just type in 279, it's going to auto populate with zeros in front of that. May be helpful. So let's call this, I already created one yesterday, but we're just going to call it training, wow, sorry, training site. Okay, and then once we do that, you're going to want to name this anything that makes sense. So it might be a neighborhood or whatnot, whatever makes sense for you. You're later going to be able to search through your sites just by any keywords that are in this site name. You don't have to remember exactly the site code. So make this useful for you and put as much information here that will be easy later for you to search. You could also, enter any other numbers or whatever you would need that match with what you're maybe already doing at your agency. Okay, so from there, we're going to want to put in coordinates of our site. So we can do latitude and longitude. There's different options for inputting your coordinates here. You can also use a map. So if you're using GPS, you could do it in latitude and longitude, or we can go to our map. And in our map here, we can search. So we can also, enter sort of what is nearby. So let's say we want like 25th and T in Sacramento. And we click geocode. It's going to take me to that location. You can see we actually already have some sites maybe around here. But say, okay, I actually have it. It's right outside of the Sun Up Market. And so we want to do that. We can switch to satellite if that's going to be helpful. We know O is actually under this tree. We can then go in here and get that address, and as well as the latitude and longitude of where that is. So what I'll do is copy that to actually create that as the address of our site, and our coordinate position is usually going to be exact. So let's go, that's that in Sacramento, California. County is going to be Sacramento County. Postal code again written up here 95816. You can classify here what surroundings are. This changes sometimes. We don't require that you do this, but let's see. I'm not even going to do it for this one. If you are in a place that has census information, you can click this classify, and it'll classify what the population is around that region. And then from there, we were going to save our site. So again, I'm working in the sandbox. So this is just saving a site in the sandbox. It's not actually creating one for the folks at Saculo. So you can see we have this green has popped up to tell us we were successful. The new site has been created successfully with the code, blah, blah, blah. Great, that's how we create a site. So you're going to want to go in and create all those sites For your agency, you can also upload sites using the data tools and data import. I'm not going to go over that now because we just did. And if you've just joined us, there will be a recording available on the different ways to import data. Are there any questions now about creating new sites? There is a question, can you delete sites? I'm going to let one of the programmers actually answer that because I think there's some specifics.
Yeah, hello, this is Kurt, developer of the vector serve. That's an interesting question. As of now, a user cannot permanently delete a site. In the table, there is a button that says delete, and what that actually does is deactivate the site so that the site is no longer available from this point in time forward. To actually delete a site, you would actually have to reach out to the vector serve team to delete the site in the database itself. That may change with the upcoming API, but no solid information on that yet at this point.
Yeah, I think there's a reason to that, right? If we went and we had all of this historical data in our system at some site, and then we went in and we're like, let's delete this, we're going to be messing with all of that historical data. So I think that the delete button acting as a deactivate is saying, keep all of that information from before, but we're no longer using that site moving forward. Correct?
Correct. Yes, absolutely. If you have more questions about that and need kind of a more specific walkthrough, feel free to reach out to me on the help email.
Great. Another question, can you tell us about the site elevation? I did skip that, so you did not miss it. This is for you if you would like to, oh gosh. This is in meters. This is also a good point for me to show you. If you hover over most things, it'll tell you what they mean by that. So here I'm hovering over and this little pale yellow says the elevation of the area around the site's coordinates. And that might be useful to your agency, it might not. We don't require that in here, but up to you if it's useful. Again, you know, if I hover over these, it's going to tell me what these actually mean. Great. Any other questions about creating sites? We will go over how to edit sites as well, but I want to make sure we're answering those questions as they come. Great. Okay, so let's go over editing sites. So if we are going again to sites, and we want to go to manage sites. My internet's being a little slow, but we'll bear with it. Okay, so here it's probably a little slow because there's a bunch of sites. Here are all of our sites in Sakyolo. And again, what I said is that we can search through these if we don't remember the exact site of where we were. So if we go down to the bottom, I know that the one I just created was 279, but I'm also just going to type in training because that's the name of what we did it. Here is our 279 training site. This is just the one I created yesterday as I was playing around. So as you asked earlier, somebody in the chat, can you delete sites? I'll show you here. If I deleted my site from yesterday, okay, it's going to be gone, but all my historical data is going to keep that site information. So for all intents and purposes, it's deleted on your end, but it's really deactivated, and it's still there as a historical site. So if we wanted to edit our site here, we can click edit. And it looks really similar to what our new site form looked like. We can go in here, you know, if we're like, oh, shoot, that was actually not right. We actually put it on the other side of Sun Up Market, you know, or we didn't catch anything that day. I actually want to put it outside the banyan tree or whatever. Not that that's how you're going to do surveillance. Don't take my advice. I'm not a vector control professional as you all are. So let's say we actually moved it outside of the banyan tree hair salon. We got our new address. Okay, I want to go put my new address. It's still in Sacramento, same deal here. Okay, wonderful. Or I could take these latitude, longitudes and go put them in here. Instead of pulling the address, I'm just going to do the address for now. The thing that's important here is this check mark. And so I'm going to hover over this. It says edits made to the coordinates above are corrections, not a relocation of the site. So if you hover over it, it says if checked, the edits to the site coordinates will be considered a correction of existing information rather than a relocation of the site. So for example, I just put in the wrong GPS coordinates the first time, and then I'm looking back at it and I'm like, that's not actually where it is. That's going to be a correction rather than a relocation in this scenario where I'm like, oh, we're actually decided to trap at the banyan tree instead of by the sunup market. And so basically what that means is if it's a correction, we want to go in and correct all historical data that we've trapped at this site to make sure it's actually reflecting that the trap is at the right site. However, if it is a relocation of the site, we want to say from this point forward, anything collected at this site uses this location. Historical data was still correct, and we were actually trapping at the sunup market. So let's say we actually just relocated. So we don't want to check this because it is a relocation of the site. So if checked, the edits will be considered a correction. This is not a correction. We actually relocated the site. So I'm going to just save it. And now our whole site is relocated. But any data we collected at this trapping site or at this training site prior to today is keeping that old location at the sunup market. Great. So the only last thing that's here under sites is site groups. This most people don't use. It's just for you if you want to create, in 2011, Sac Yellow had chicken flock sites and they wanted to just label all of those as one. You can do that. But you can see even for Sac Yellow, they don't use it very often, but it is an option. And it can be helpful for some of our tools for analysis later, but that is up to you. If you want to create site groups, we can talk about them a little more at the training next Thursday when we go through our tools.